I ended up starting my own cellular phone company. I looked in the phone book under cellular phones, and I found an actress friend of mine, and we just started selling phones to people. We had meetings, business meetings, and how did we sell phones? We tap danced. Yes, we tap danced about cell phones, and then they would think we were adorable. And my partner was like 5'9" and blonde and gorgeous. And it was a crazy business. I did it for 7 years. We did customer service, we did everything, and it was so hard. It was so hard. I had people calling me on Christmas Eve being like, my phone is broken, and I'm like, you dropped it in the pool. Yeah, but it's all your fault, come over, you know. But that was 7 years of blood, sweat, and tears that I learned the value of hard work and not giving up. That's how I was paying my bills. I never let go of my dream. And I would come home every year from California and try to put on a happy face. Because I was sort of working. I was on a soap opera. I was Nurse Kathy on General Hospital, the mute nurse. And I was crushing it. Well, they always cut my lines a lot, so I told my friends my character was mute. And I was very dramatic. And I was on Young and the Restless. And I realized that nobody's happy where they are. All the soap opera actors want to be on sitcoms. And then the sitcom actors want to be in movies. And the movie actors want to be Scientologists. So nobody's happy. And I said to my dad, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I said, you'll do it for as long as you have to, because there's a plan. So no matter what our life looks like, we have to believe that if we don't quit, that there will be a plan. I had a friend of mine, she just booked a Disney TV show. I said, are you excited? She goes, well, it's about time. I've been driving on this 405 freeway for 20 years going to audition. But she's committed and she never quit. So I was at Second City. Anyone ever heard of Second City? That's where John Candy started, James Belushi, a lot of the Saturday Night Live. And I was doing improv. And then something started happening in my life. My offstage life and my onstage life started to conflict. My personal life, I was making changes, but show business was not changing. And it was in conflict with what I felt comfortable with. I remember, this was in the early 2000s, my agent's like, you should totally do this movie. I know there's a topless scene, but the actor you're gonna be with is Charlie Sheen. And you wanna be with Charlie Sheen, right? Yay. No. And I was at Second City doing improv, and all the material was so dirty, I felt like, what am I even doing here? And it was time to make another leap. But I had no job skills, I didn't know where to go. And it was like I heard this voice inside me saying, do stand-up comedy. Because then if you're dirty, that's your fault. And being the control freak that I am, it sort of appealed to me. But you guys, I had taken stand-up comedy twice before in my life, and I quit both classes because I was too scared to stand on stage without a script. But I found a teacher who believed in me. Once again, I'm finding my crew. She said, yes, you can. Within 30 days, I'm backstage at the Hollywood Improv, where all the clean comics work out. Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, all of them. And lots of Jesus. And I'm like, this is crazy. They're not gonna laugh at me. They think virgin is a drink. They're not gonna get my jokes. I walked on stage, comic number 23 out of 40. And I told my clean comedy, and they laughed. And I was the only comic asked back that night. And then the manager starts calling around places, telling him he's found the next big thing. And everything was in perfect alignment about my life, about my career, except one tiny detail. I was sort of, kind of, yes, lying about my age. Because in Hollywood, everyone lies about their age. Do you guys know that? Do you know Sandra Bullock is like 83? Okay. And Betty White, don't get me started. So I'm lying about, I was really old, you guys. I was 29. And so this manager thought I was 24, I think, I don't know. And we're standing outside Taco Bell on La Brea Boulevard. And I'm like, Michael, I have a confession. I have a dark secret. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm 29. And he wipes the burrito sauce off his mouth and he goes, so? I was like, oh, it was that easy just to tell the truth? He's like, yeah. So if you have conflict between your off-work life and your work life, or who your people think you are and who you really are, it's going to come back to haunt you. You need to get in alignment. You need to think about where you're off balance. So I decided I wanted to do stand-up comedy, and opportunities were coming. Sherry Shepherd, who's a host of The View, do you guys know who Sherry Shepherd is? Very gracious. She offered to take me on tour. And I was like, I really want to do this. And I would work for anybody. I was working for a burger and fries, but I didn't know how I would sell my cell phones and go on tour with these comics. And there was no guarantee. But it was just time to take another leap. So I gave all my cell phone inventory to an orphanage in Haiti, and I went on tour with Sherry, and I was working for like $50 a show and a burger. But I wanted to learn, and I wanted to put in the time because there's no shortcuts. I found other people that wanted to learn. I called them my comedy buddies. They were my power partners. Everybody in life should have somebody that you can talk to about what you're trying to do. You can set goals. It doesn't have to be some formal business thing. What if you're a mom and you're struggling? Can you find another mom that might be on the same path as you? And can you find time? I know it might be between the hours of 9:45 and 9:48 p.m. because that's the only free time we have. But can you set up a regular appointment with somebody in your life to be an accountability partner who you could be really honest with? And not just honest about your kids, and not just honest about your problems. What about being honest about your dreams? What about being honest? Find one person that you can say, you know, I think there's something inside me, and I'd like to take one baby step towards doing something for me. So the next thing you know, I'm making a professional living as a stand-up comic. When I was 12 years old, my dad got me an autograph from Jay Leno. He said, my daughter wants to be an actress, will you sign this for her? And he wrote me a note. He said, dear Kerri, come to LA, we'll work together, love Jay. I had no idea that I would end up at Jay Leno's door 15 years later. Now, yes, I had to audition, but maybe there were some specific things I did to get on that show. It sort of involved some barbecue sauce. My father, God bless him, down in Georgia, he worked in human resources, and he found value in reaching out to people. Now, he got a list, I don't know where he got it, of the top casting directors in Hollywood. He wrote them handwritten letters from Georgia and said, would you please give my daughter a chance? This is her picture, this is her resume. And by the way, I'm Italian, I like to bribe people, here's some barbecue sauce. Crazy, right? Yes, this was before 9/11. I got calls from presidents of Hollywood studios. I got calls from casting directors. They want to know if I was real. They're like, is this punked? Is this really happening? But they were so touched, and it reminded them of their own family and that my father would do something like that for me. And it really taught me a major lesson in life. There's never a bad time for a kind gesture. I got meetings my friends would only kill for. So I ended up doing the Tonight Show, and I remember I had this moment where I walked in and I was in my dressing room, and there was my name. And when I came to Hollywood, I prayed. I said, God, I want to win an Academy Award and marry Matt Damon. That's all I want from you. If you give me those two things, I will say your name. I'll be like out of the closet for you. And he was like, thank you, Kerri, for that generous offer. And I looked at my dressing room, and in the dressing room next door was Matt Damon. Name it and claim it, girls. You gotta be specific. He was right there, and I'll never forget that day, because that's the day I got my first restraining order. And because Matt had not been hearing from the Lord the way I had. And that's how I started my prison ministry. And but my dad wrote Scott Atwell, the casting director, a note. He said, thanks for giving my daughter a chance. And that same casting director cast me 28 more times on that show. And it's been an amazing journey. It's not been quick or fast. I've been in Hollywood 20 years. And once I started working in comedy, there was bigger opportunities. There was this DVD. It was the biggest DVD coming out for clean comedy. I was one of the first people asked to be on it. And then at the very end, I found out they'd offered me, for me in my 20s, it was a lot of money. I was barely making rent. And I found out they were paying the guys more than they were paying the girls. And the other girls on the DVD are like, we don't want to ruffle any feathers. I've never been really good at not ruffling feathers. And I remember boarding a plane to Phoenix to go to a comedy show and thinking, how am I going to sell out just a little bit and remember this moment? So I quit. They didn't offer me more money. They didn't fight. They said, fine. I quit. And I had no idea where my next paycheck was coming from. I had no idea how I was going to make money. I had no day job. And I sat in my hotel room that night, and I was bawling my eyes out because there were $1 bills and quarters and $5 bills because I had sold every CD, every DVD that I brought to that show. And I remember thinking, money is not going to drive me. I'm going to drive myself to doing what I feel called to do in this life, and the money will come. And it has never not been that way. I've never had a straight, narrow path where I had a paycheck every Friday, but I've had a really good exercise in trust and belief that I'm on the right path. And when you're on the right path, you can feel it. Because there's going to be open doors. There's going to be people that are going to come to you. And the thing that we need to be careful about is just because somebody dangles a carrot does not mean we have to eat it. I had one of the biggest managers in all of clean comedy wanting to manage me. But I remember thinking, something doesn't feel right about this. He was promising me lots of money and all these big favors. But I looked at the other comics he was managing. And if you're looking at joining a new organization or a new company, look who already works there and say, is that an organization I want to be a part of? And I had to breathe. When we have decisions in life, it's important to take a moment to breathe and think about it. I thought about what he was offering me, but I thought about what he represented. And I didn't want to be a part of that crew. And my friend's like, you're crazy, that's a step to big success. I'm not doing this to have steps to big success. I'm doing this so I can feel good about who I am. And so I can look at my daughter someday and say, are you proud of me? My 5-year-old got offered a sitcom, an acting role on NBC. The producer was Ron Howard. We read the script, 3 pages in, no way. Then she got offered a part in a movie, an Academy Award-winning movie. The producer, Spike Jonze was the director, they called my house. No way. The agent said, don't you know who this is? This is Ron Howard. I said, I'm not going to tell my daughter when she's 18, I sold your soul just a little bit when you were 5 so you could have a bank account. That's how I try to live my life. I want to make decisions that future generations can be proud of me. And we have to know our worth. Thank you. We have to know our worth. The world tells us as women that we have to be, behind the scenes and we can't be cocky. But I don't think it's cocky to know that when you go for your dream and you're going for a job interview, that you walk into that job interview and you say, you are lucky that I'm here today. Because your company's going to be better if I join it. It's a mutual decision process. And we women have been brainwashed into thinking, oh, we're just happy to be here. Yeah, we're happy to be here, but we have a lot to bring to the table. And it's time that you know your worth. Whose approval are you really waiting for, ladies? Let me give you mine. Each and every one of you are called to do something amazing. Now you have all the approval you ever need. Go and do something. Yes. Because don't be ashamed that this may be the first time that you've had to really stop and think about your value. I have another homework assignment. I want you to get that piece of notebook paper and I want you to write down the words. I am valuable because. I am valuable because. And leave plenty of room underneath it because there's a lot of things that you can write. You can write, I'm kind. I make great birthday cakes. I'm a good listener. These are all things that make you valuable outside of being a mom, outside of being a daughter, outside of being a wife. You, because of you, have skills and talents that can be utilized to pursue your destiny. And if you want to take this to the next level, write down the words on another piece of paper. You are valuable because. Think of somebody in your life that needs to hear that they are valuable. Slip them a note. It could be your child. When's the last time you looked at your kid and said, you're valuable because? I talk to my kids all the time. I'm mostly threatening their lives. And I think about my mother, and I think about all the things that she did for me, and I think about my father, and I don't remember all the stuff. I do remember the time she hit me with the fly swatter. I do. But I do remember the times where she took a moment to write me a card and say, I'm proud of you. Is there somebody in your life that needs to know that they matter? Get crazy, don't even sign it. Blow their mind. So after working on Leno, I got to work with some amazing people. I got to work with Jim Kerri. Jim Kerri is an amazing example. He was 15 when he started to do stand-up comedy, and he really bombed at it, but his dad kept driving him to show after show, and then he moved to Hollywood. Nobody would hire him. So as the story he likes to tell, he drove up on the top of a mountain next to the Hollywood sign. He took out a check from his checkbook, and he wrote a check to Jim Kerri for $10 million for actor services, and he put it in his pocket. He said, someday that's gonna come true. Now, as he likes to tell the story, you don't just visualize your success and Jim says, go eat a sandwich. You visualize your success and then you go work towards it. Several years later, he was doing a sequel for one of his movies and he got his contract and it was for $10 million. That same year was the year his father passed away. And as Jim tells the story, he took that crinkled up check and he put it in his father's coffin because his father was the one who told him, yes, you can. I got to meet amazing people. I got to meet John Travolta. Please tell me you guys remember John Travolta, right? You're old. And it was like meeting the Pope. I was shaking and he took time with me. And what I realized, working with Jay Leno, he's so gracious, he's so kind. He walks in every day to the set and he shakes everybody's hand. Here's a little trivia about Jay. He wears the same outfit to work every day. He wears a denim shirt, jeans, and sneakers. And he walks into work every day and shakes everybody's hand and says, thanks for being here. Now he's a little bit quirky. He does comedy every week at a comedy club, and you know he makes millions of dollars on The Tonight Show, right? He's never spent a dime of his Tonight Show money because he has that comics mentality. He told Jerry Seinfeld, he said, I gotta save my money in case this TV thing doesn't work out. I have to be really good at stand-up. I didn't say people in Hollywood were normal, but I had such a pleasure, and what I learned was a lot of these guys and girls that have become successes at their chosen profession have done it by being gracious, by being kind, and being hard workers. When I was at Second City and I was sitting in the back row at one of our improv classes where it was the kids, I look over and there's this guy who was sitting next to me, and it was Robin Williams. Robin Williams is one of the most talented genius performers ever, but he never stopped learning. He would just come and sit in the back just to be around the energy. And I went to school with a lot of these kids, and I could sort of pick them out of the class, the ones that you knew were going to do great things, because they wouldn't take no for an answer. I went to school with Simon Helberg. He's on the Big Bang Theory right now, and a lot of kids that are working in film and TV. They're not the ones that you would pick out of a crowd and go, well, that looks like it's going to be the most successful. That's the best looking. That's the most talented. These were the pit bulls. These are the ones that put their nose to the grindstone and said, I'm going to do it. And they never left. So I got to work with many, many people, and I decided one day I was going to write a book. Has anybody ever thought maybe I'd like to write a book? I'd never written a book. I wasn't a writer. And then I started writing on a piece of paper. I had a long dating life. I had a ministry dating life of being single in the church. It was called Bitter Party of One. And I was an angry single. And I hired an editor. And by the way, when I said hired, it was, I'll pay you later if you help me. And she wanted to be an editor and I wanted to be a writer. So for 3 years, I sent her pages of notebooks about my dating life. A lot of them had tears on them. And we turned it into a book. I didn't know what to do. I went on Craigslist. I found a guy who was going to do some cover art. And the next thing you know, I had a book. It was called If I'm Waiting on God, What Am I Doing in a Christian Chat Room? And then I thought, well, what do I need if I'm an author? I need a publicist, I think. John Travolta had one. So I Googled publicist, and I found this lady on Craigslist. And she was very successful. Did I have money for a publicist? No. But I had this book, so I had her read it. This is the power of negotiation. She cut her fees in half, and then she cut them in half again because she believed in me, and she said, I'll take a chance on you. Are you willing to do the work? So the next thing you know, I'm an author. She's calling me celebrity author. I was no celebrity, but you get a publicist, you start to kind of believe it, you know? She had a book release party for me. My boyfriend showed up, Corey Feldman, because there's a chapter about him in my book. And the next thing you know, I'm an author. I wasn't an author before I put a pen to paper. Next thing you know, I'm getting a publishing deal. I got a publishing deal from the biggest publisher in my market, Zondervan, and she got them to double it. I started to believe maybe I have some things to say. Maybe there's something to this author thing. And I turned it into a book. They changed the title. It's now called Guys Like Girls Named Jenny because it did well in the faith-based market. And we're now raising money for this book to become a motion picture. And now I'm learning how to be a producer. Do I know how to be a producer? No, don't tell anybody. If I can teach you one thing for this entire talk today, you talk the talk, or as we like to say in Hollywood, you fake it till you make it. I want to give this away. Is there a single girl here that needs in the back? Yes. Yeah, you can get that. Did anybody see the movie Mom's Night Out? Yeah? Thank you so much. I got the honor and pleasure to writing a book for Mom's Night Out, and it was just one of those things. And so I had a choice. They said, we'll let you write this book. You have 30 days. And I said, I would like a pony. I don't think either of those things are going to happen. And then they said, we're willing to pay you. And I said, what time would you like it turned in? So this is a devotion for moms. It's a funny book about motherhood and really about me eating Nutella in my shower. And would you like this? I saw you raise your hand. Yeah, would you like this? Do you have kids?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And grandkids. How many kids do you have?
I have one child and I have 4 grandkids.
Yeah, and the grandkids are more important, let's be honest. Right, yeah, she skipped over the child. She said, I have 1 kid and 4 grandkids.
I raised one of my grandkids.
And grandkids are great. My mother has discovered the art of being a wonderful grandmother. She likes to sugar up my kids until they come home to my organic house like they're an addict in rehab, okay? They don't know their name. It's really scary. So I've had this journey, and I hope that I've gotten to share some of my favorite stories with you. And it never stops. My mother, at 65 years old, decided she wanted to write a book too. So she wrote a book called Adventures of the Quarter Slot Sisters, and it's about her gambling ministry at her church. And 65 years old, she wrote a book, and now it's been turned into a stage musical that I wrote with my partner, and she charges me really high commission. I don't think it's legal, but she just decided to write a book, so she did. And then my father, he's a Detroit kid, he retires. They moved on to Atlanta. He, at 65 years old, decides he wants to write country music, because that's what you do when you've had no musical training. This is the kind of family I come from. Nobody says, no, you can't. So you know what he did? He wrote lyrics to songs. He's always been a lyricist. He's loved writing poetry. He wrote lyrics to songs. He sang into a tape recorder. He's never had musical training. And then he would send them off to have them recorded. And he has 3 songs on the country music charts. So nobody in this room has any excuses not to do what you really want to do. And I love my dad, and he inspires me. He's an Italian Catholic father. Has anybody been raised with an Italian Catholic? You're raised with guilt and intimidation. And he put us to bed every night in the same way, with lies. That's how you raise your kids. That's how I do the same thing. He's like, go to sleep, remember, Daddy loves you, and don't you even think about getting out of that bed or moving a muscle, because if you do, there's a big hairy monster and he will come and eat you limb from limb. Oh, you don't believe me? What do you think happened to your brother? You don't have one, do you? So, the journey continues. It never stops. I keep making leaps today. I have the pleasure of being a stand-up comic. I also have the pleasure of I'm one of the 4 Christians in Hollywood, and so I get to tell people about Jesus. If you want to have a really good time, come back and see me. I'm going to be here tomorrow at all 3 services. I love this place. This is a place that's about impacting the community, empowering you guys, and serving you. And that's what this place is about. And I'm just honored to be here. I brought a couple things with me. All the proceeds from my table, they go to charity, Feed the Children. I brought a picture. My children. Their parents are comedians, and they're really hungry. And so, that's Ruby, and that's Lucy. The other pictures? Yeah, and see, we can't afford daycare, so. I I have CDs and clean comedy. This is my favorite project that I've ever been a part of. It's called How to Be a Pit Bull for Jesus. My daughter Ruby was born, I've shared her story here a couple years ago, with a lot of stuff that was wrong. And just like her mama, she looked, even at a very young age, and she looked in those doctors' faces and she said, yes, I can. And so God has done a miracle in her life, and this is her story. So if somebody really needs to be encouraged, I want to give this away in the back. I see you can get it later. You can come in. And you guys, today is just all about you. Today is about remembering that your story matters. And in my favorite philosopher of all time, Willy Wonka, he said, remember, we are the music makers. We are the dreamers of dreams. And as they were shooting up the glass, he looked at Charlie and he said, remember, Charlie, what happened to the man that finally got what he wanted. He lived happily ever after. Some of us have never pictured our happily ever after. And if I could go back right now and speak to that 11-year-old girl who was told by the doctors, no, you can't, I would look at her and I would say, you're going to be okay. You're just going to have to find a new way to dance, but it's going to be better than you ever imagined. So if I could whisper in each one of your ears today, no matter what it looks like, no matter what you've had to go through, you made it here today. And there's good things ahead. And your life may look like it's taking a left turn, but you're going to find a new way to dance. So thank you for sharing your morning with me. Thank you so much.